Sure, so welcome to Northwest Shorts 2. We're here to talk about Reflections. Please introduce the film and yourself.
So the film's Reflections. It's a no dialogue, 15-minute short about loss, loneliness, mental health, and suicide. And I'm Zach, the writer-director.
Awesome. It's a beautiful film. It's filmed in a very bleak location that's still somehow stunning. Was that something that existed in your mind before writing it, or was it something that you found that then inspired the story?
No, it was something that was written in consciously because I was like, let's write a film that's one location, thinking, oh, we'll be able to shoot it easily. And then I actually wrote a location that was almost impossible to find. So we spent most of our pre-production going around, like we tried Yorkshire, we tried the lakes, we tried most of Scotland, and then eventually found somewhere because I saw somewhere on an advert and was like, where's that? And messaged my mate who was a steady come up on it and was like, found it that.
Thank you. Yeah, I really enjoy how the location is mirrored, which I guess is the theme of the film. I enjoyed the way it disorients, it plays into very I guess, traditional storytelling techniques of like, oh, there's an angle of incident, there's a clear line you shouldn't or don't cross, and then you do, and the audience, or when I was watching, was confused and slightly disorientated. I assume that's deliberate, and how planned was that? How much was storyboarding? How much was like, this is how we're going to do it?
No, I did. The film was so heavily storyboarded, like throughout the entire process. Like I spent most of my, once we'd found the location, most of my time like between that was just spent storyboarding every frame, because we wanted the audience to be confused, like you say, disorientated, because that's what the character's meant to be. But you couldn't walk, it was a tightrope because you couldn't have them lose grasp of the film. Because obviously there's no dialogue and there's therefore no way of explaining all the exposition. You've got to be like, you either get it or you don't. So when we're being confusing, it needs to be deliberate.
Okay, that's fair. I did enjoy, though, even though it's dialogue-free, that the character still exists as a character. They're not necessarily an everyman. So, for example, he goes and pours himself a whiskey, but he also happens to have pocket whiskey. Like, where did that character come from? Is that someone you know? Is that inspired by experiences you've had?
So the film was very heavily based on two people from my life. So my grandma struggled with dementia, eventually died with dementia. So a lot of the moments were taken from her life. But the character himself was more based on my uncle, who, even there's little things, how his ashtray is a can that's been cut and he doesn't have proper ashtrays lying around. That's exactly what my uncle did. Like, he did all those things, and yeah, it's those little beats were taken. And Kevin, our actor, I kind of give him freedom to be like, we need this person to be three-dimensional. Don't be shackled by the lack of dialogue, basically.
You would see a lot of shorts that would end without a clear conclusion. But I think one of the things that this film does is it gives you that moment of clarity in grief. It makes you sit with that even for a little while. Like, I'm trying to avoid the question, are you proud of that? But I guess, are you proud of that? Because it's quite difficult to sit with, even though it's very brief.
I think the beats, without giving it away, the beats that happened at the end, they were always going to happen. There was no ambiguity about what was going to happen in those stages. It was always going to end up at the same stage. And I think we hope that from the first beat, like in the edit, we found a couple of beats at the beginning that we put in. Hopefully it was kind of inevitable. Like it doesn't feel like a shock to anyone. You're like, oh, no, that feels like a closure to the story.
Okay. I think we're running out a little bit of time, but I do have two more left. How many times on set did Kevin mention Spice World?
Oh, I mean, he drank Kylie Minogue wine. That was his vibe, yeah. But he mentioned Pirates of the Caribbean a lot.
And finally, what's next for yourself and for the film?
So I'm currently writing a feature based in Newcastle. Basically, after spoke to a couple of producers, they were like, "Why have you not made a film set in Newcastle yet?" And I'm like, oh, "Okay, like maybe now's the time." So there's a feature set in Newcastle, and what comes with that is shooting a proof of concept, which I'm sure every person said here to do.
Awesome! Thank you very much.
Thank you.